Hello, welcome to Tech Dive. We're going to be doing another Vegas tutorial today, and today we're going to be talking about keyframing. Now, in a previous video, some of you may have seen I talked about keyframing in part when I was really talking about cropping and how keyframing is something you can do on cropping a picture. But I talked about getting into keyframing in more detail. And so today's the day we're getting into keyframing in more detail. Now, an easy way to show off keyframing, one of the reasons I put off this video is because I really just didn't have a good idea for keyframing that wasn't too astronomically difficult to pull off really well. So I just kind of decided to compromise and go with something really stupid and really basic, and that is putting a football as Steven's head. So this is Steven, one of our Tech Dive videos, specifically the one about the NVIDIA Shield when we're reviewing it, and I'm going to make his head a football, and I'm going to do that by keyframing. So first off, I have this PNG here. Now, if you don't know how to make a picture without with the background cut out, so only the picture shows, for example, like when I drop this football here, and you look at it, you can see that there's just a football and there's no background, and I crappily cut it out. So you can see little white parts right there. That's where I was just lazy, and I was just like, you know what? It's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I just went, yoop, and cut it out. So there we go. There's a football I cut out. If you want to know more about PNGs and stuff, that may be another video, because that's going to involve not Vegas. Any photo editing software that's a good one should be able to cut out a background and make a you can kind of make a photo float, but it's got to be in PNG. There may be other ways to do it. I'm not a photo expert, but I know that that's the normal way to do it. So first off, I'm going to take this picture, I'm going to stretch it out over the length of my clip here, and then you're thinking, wow, how's this going to work? The football is over everything. It does. You don't even have to keyframe it. The football is Steven. Well, first we're going to shorten the football up. So you'll notice right here, the positioning is at the beginning of the clip. So the first thing you got to know about keyframing is this timeline right here corresponds to the actual length of the clip. So the beginning of this is the beginning of this, and the end of this is the end of this. See where my mouse is? When I say this, that's what I'm talking about. The end of this clip right here is the end of this clip right here. And if you get that, that is the best thing you can get about keyframing. Now in the video, what I did was I did a basic keyframe where I made it really small. I'm just going to do a basic one to illustrate the concept. I'm going to put it here, and then I'm going to go to the end of the clip, very end, and I'm going to move the football over here and make it smaller or bigger. I guess I made it bigger. I made it bigger. So first off, it would really help to see what you're doing over here, but right now my focus is I want you to see what I'm doing to the keyframing bit. So at the beginning of here, see that little diamond that created? That is a keyframe. And this diamond over here, that is a keyframe. And when you create a keyframe, you create a position and a marker and a point that changes everything about what you're doing. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about keyframes and text in a bit, because you can do keyframing with a lot of things in Vegas, like make text dance and jump around and things like that, and that's how you do it, is with keyframes. But in general, when you set two keyframes over the period of time it takes, it just kind of does some math, and it says before the end of this clip, this needs to end up here, and it needs to do it evenly. So we start the football over there, and it will slowly get bigger and fly across the screen as we go through the clip. Now, one thing you might be like, Steven's head doesn't move around a ton. It does move around a little bit though. So how are we going to make football his head, because his head moves around? Well, that's what keyframing's for. So I'm going to delete this keyframe. So how to delete a keyframe? Well, you hit the minus button and it goes away, which is wonderful. I love that button right there. So I'm scrolling with my mouse wheel to see more of the picture. To kind of get a better handle on things. I want the football to be, I'm going to tilt it a little bit too. So the way I'm going to tilt it, I'm going to grab the corner like this, tilt it down. Okay, I decided that that is how I want his head to look, like that. So first I'm going to get this window smaller. When you're editing on 2 monitors, it really helps a lot, but editing on 1 monitor, especially for the simplicity of doing a Vegas tutorial, it really kind of limits your workspace here. So I say if you're having a problem moving windows around a lot, I would just get a second monitor, but that's another concept. So what you can do is then move the video 1 frame at a time. Because you don't have to do it this way, right? But if you really want it to be exact, you just need to move 1 frame at a time. So you gotta scroll in here, see, and how I click the over button, I just click the arrow button, right or left. Really, I have to go right at the beginning of the clip, but right, and that moves 1 frame. So see the semicolon 13, that's the 13th frame, because I started in a weird spot. It's really not the 13th frame, it's the first frame, but I just put it randomly on the timeline. So that marks it at 13, and then this one marks it at 14. That's what I'm doing. I'm jumping from 13 to 14. So next frame, it looks good still. Next frame, it looks good still. Next frame, it looks good still. I'm going next frame, it looks good still. Drag this to the beginning so I can count my frames here. Now you can frame count in all sorts of ways. The easiest way is just use the original frames. So right here, when we scroll in, we can see what is called the timecode. So I am going to make this super easy on myself, and I'm going to press play, and then when I see his head move, hang on, I gotta let Vegas catch up. I'm gonna press play. When I see his head move, oh, it bobbed down a little bit. Okay, so where am I here? I am on 1, 7. So I'm gonna go to 1, 7 right here. You can create a keyframe, but it'll auto create one when you do it. I'm gonna select the box. I'm gonna hit down arrow. Ooh, that made it go up. I'm sorry. I'm gonna hit the up arrow a couple of times, kind of make his head bob a bit with it. Now I'm gonna go back down here, and I'm gonna hit play again. I'm gonna scroll in first a little bit so I can see where I'm doing. I'm gonna hit play again, and hang on, let's let Vegas catch up. And oh, his head moves to the left, so I'm gonna back it up a few frames because that's when his head first moves to the left there. Alright, so now I want to move the football to the left. I am on frame, let's scroll in. I'm on frame 3:15. So I'm going to go over here to 3:14, 15, there we go. And then I'm going to select this, move it over and actually down a little bit. There we go. I'm covered up his head again, and then scroll back down, make it easy on myself, reselect, hit play, let Vegas catch up. Okay, his head rose back up, and it rose back up a little sooner than I noticed. There it is. Okay, so frame am I on? Starts rising there. It is 5:01. So what I want to do is, it takes a minute for his head to start rising up. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a keyframe because I want it to stay there. For a split second. And that will make sure it doesn't move between those keyframes. And then at 5:01, get back to 5:01 down here so I can see what I'm doing. Toss it back up and over a little bit. Okay, grab down here, scroll back down, hit play again. Hang on, Vegas didn't catch up. Okay, and at the end he kind of shifts his head, so I'm gonna leave it there, and then hang on, he does something funky. It's kind of an art. You kind of just learn how to do it over time. Okay, so until about right here, I want it to stay still. So I'm going to scroll in, 621. So at 621, I'm going to create another keyframe, and then at the end here, he kind of makes some quick movements. He raises his head up just a little bit. And then he puts it back down. So up until right here is when he raises his head up. So 8:15. Okay. Ooh, okay, yeah, so that last one's gonna be kind of quick. And so I'm gonna select the box, hit the down arrow to raise it up. There we go. And now we select here at the very end. His head dips down just a little bit, so I want to see his head dip down. So I will move to the end here and bring it back down just a couple. Now let's watch our good work. Start from the beginning. Okay, Vegas didn't like that. Let me let it catch up. Okay. There we go. Steven's head is a football. One more time. And that is keyframing. And real quick, I want to mention when you can do this with any media that has the keyframe option. So let's say we had text. You can just drop some text on here, and when it says animation, this is a keyframing setup. So as you watch the video, you can do the same thing where you change how it floats in, floats out, its location. You can animate each and every one of these items with a clock next to it. And I also want to point out that you can do it, you can make this zoom in while this moves around. You can combine these in all sorts of ways, which gives you a lot of flexibility when editing. So it's a very simple tool, has a very simple execution, but it's very powerful. It lets you kind of move with the pacing of what you filmed. Now, it's not perfect. This thing, it's not going to do what motion tracking would do. So there are some wonderful softwares that actually like track motion with faces, and it makes things go exactly with it, and you can really do some crazy special effects. But this gets you 80% of the way there really easily. The last 20% is exponentially harder to do as far as motion tracking goes. So it lets you make text get bigger, make text get smaller, it lets things zoom in, it lets things zoom out, it lets you frame things, it lets you make a football somebody's head, and you can get the general effect across pretty easily. And that is keyframing, and Steven's head is a football, and I'm really happy about that. Thanks everybody for watching. Tune in next time for another tech dive tutorial or review or anything to do with computer enthusiast stuff. We got you covered. We've also been popping stuff on our Tech Dive gaming channel lately, so give that a look too if you're interested in us playing some video games. Also, this video was an idea from another video, but it was reminded to me from a commenter. And if you comment with your video ideas, I try and do them when I can. I try and get a your idea as a tutorial. So let me know what you think, and I'll see what I can do for you. Thanks for watching. See you next time.